In today's episode, we're going to be reacting to some of the strangest videos that I could find on the internet. Let's get into it.
Charles Hapgood was right, and the Earth's axis was shifted 15 degrees from where it is now, Antarctica wouldn't be completely covered in ice. Hapgood believed an Ice Age civilization, long forgotten, mapped the coast thousands of years ago. Though many of Hapgood's theories have proven to be true, the Ice Age pole shift is still controversial. We do know the poles shift over time. We also know the continents drift over a very long period of time. But Dr. Chan Thomas, in his book The Adam and Eve Story, says the shift happens in less than a day. Chan Thomas describes in detail what this will be like, and it's worse than any Hollywood disaster movie ever conceived. Far worse. Chan Thomas begins his book with a chapter that describes exactly what we'll experience during this pole shift event. The Earth spins about 1,000 miles per hour. We don't feel this because everything is spinning together. The land, the water, the atmosphere. Now, Thomas says that when the pole shift happens, the Earth's air and water continue to spin, but the land masses stop. Now think of what would happen if you were in a car going 1,000 miles per hour that suddenly stopped. Now think of what would happen if a large city going 1,000 miles per hour suddenly stopped. Skyscrapers would collapse. Millions of people would be thrown around like they were in a food processor.
Horrible.
Very few people would survive that. But survivors are the unlucky ones, because moving across the country at the speed of sound is a 2-mile-high wall of water, mud, and debris.
That would be horrifying. I think that it would be so catastrophic that you just would not live long enough to even experience it that much unless you were underground, but being bounced around at 1,000 miles an hour just would not be a good time.
This is it. This is where China has us beat. They've made dark factories. This is all over the internet right now. They have dark factories that are the future of 24/7 smart manufacturing. They have whipped us in the robotics industry. They have the Internet of Things blended with AI to create a factory where they no longer need human workers. All they need is robots to create other robots, and they can shut the lights off. That's why they're calling them dark factories, yo. They're calling them dark factories because they don't need the power of electricity to keep the lights on. They just need the power to power these things, and these robots can work for hundreds of thousands of hours. What does that mean for you? That means your job might be in jeopardy. That means our jobs might be in jeopardy. There might be all kinds of different industries that's going to be having problems with this. What do you think? Leave your comment in the comments section. We're already at the iRobot section of history. Soon we'll be at the movie Megan and the movie Subservience, where the AI robots are going to take over and become self-aware. Do you think this is a good idea?
They still require power, so it's going to be fairly expensive to run these warehouses with a bunch of robots that require electricity. Not to mention, if robots just take over all factory work and nobody's making any money, what's the point of creating the product in factory? Because nobody's going to be able to afford it other than the rich. The future's going to be an interesting place, that's for sure, but we're not quite at iRobot level yet.
Have you guys ever heard of Death Mountain in North Russia?
Death Mountain?
This is probably one of the craziest connections, connecting a lot of stuff that we've talked about on the podcast. It's a very ancient, tall mountain, like one of the tallest mountains in the region. It's been a very spiritual place. The ancient tribesmen, the Sami tribes, they say that it's actually a place where these giants used to live, and there's this giant flood, and these evil giants who they say came from the fallen gods went to this mountain to escape the flood. Some of them went into the earth, but they believe that there's the spirits of these evil giants still roam on this mountain today. There are 16,000 of these giant boulders, like megalithic boulders, that are bouncing on smaller rocks. These boulders were placed by the giants, and they act as a portal to another realm. So they say that these giants are actually very hard to, because they could go to these portals and escape into the spiritual realm.
Dude, is that what Bigfoot is? Just a hairy giant?
Dude, it makes you think.
استنى ما في ستوري فل ايش اسمه ستوري
I have not watched this video. This guy is crazy. Ooh.
Whoa!
Hey, at least he didn't get bit.
Kita lagi ya, kita coba cari lagi. Oh, لا شخصي
Oh no, he's going in for more.
You want the here? I mean outside from the frame. Okay.
Oh.
Two. Just kissing the cover. And how you do that?
Whew, that's actually got my heart pumping. That's crazy. I could never ever do anything like that. Now, he's probably a trained professional, but still, that's no thank you. Hey, if you haven't done so already and you're enjoying the show, give it a like. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. For everyone that's currently watching and or subscribed, thank you guys so much for supporting the channel.
I told y'all something was up with Australia's cyclone they had. Did you know it rained in the same exact spot for 10 hours straight? So we're going to come back to look at a different view of the radar in a minute, but this is the path of the cyclone. Watch it, how everything it's doing is unnatural and it hits this one place, right? And keep in mind the cyclone has been off land in the same exact spot for 10 hours. And this is all huge, crazy wind and rainstorms. They're going constantly for 10 to 15 hours, you guys.
Jeez.
We just saw this exact kind of scenario in the Carolinas where Helene did not move at all and this crazy amount of water was just coming out of this one direct spot. The very first time I looked at the path of this cyclone, I knew that it was not normal. And of course now it's changing the whole landmass, and I believe as of now still, it has not come over land yet. This thing's really been doing damage, and we're going to see a lot more damage in the next 24 hours. But what do y'all think? I mean, the non-organic path, the square-way turns, all water coming from one location for 10 hours? Pretty weird. By the way, California's back to earthquake mode.
Hey, for the people out there in Australia, I hope the best for you. That's just crazy.
There's a giant creature lurking off the coast of Antarctica. In 2005, reports started flooding in from Japanese fishermen and whale researchers in the area. They first thought they were seeing a submarine surfacing, but soon realized that it was a living, breathing, giant unknown sea creature that came up quick and then went back underwater. They called it the Ningen. Now, it's said that we've only explored about 5% of the ocean, so who knows what's out there that we haven't discovered yet. So, what is a Ningen? Well, translated from Japanese, it means human. But this thing is not a human. And according to the stories, there are actually two versions of this thing. The primary one here is said to be this massive humanoid-like sea creature that's up to 30 meters long. It's a little bit whale-like. Some equate it to almost a giant mermaid, and it has this pale, white, blubbery skin. They've also been seen with arms, hands with 5 digits, and have a disturbingly human-like face. And the second version is a smaller creature, maybe something like a juvenile, with 2 legs and a head, and can go on land. And at one point, some people thought that this satellite image could have been a Ningen that was caught on camera. Others also think there's a cover-up of this creature by the Japanese government, maybe to protect it, or not to scare the public, or for some other purpose.
I don't know. Some of those images were really out there. I don't necessarily believe it, but let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm gonna probably say that this is an AI generated video.
Okay, breaking news. In 2025, we now have boats colliding too. A major rescue operation is currently underway after an American oil tanker and a Portuguese cargo ship collided in the North Sea just off the coast of the UK. Now, reports and videos show that both vessels are currently on fire and that a number of people had abandoned the vessels in lifeboats. A British Coast Guard helicopter is being dispatched to the scene and efforts are underway to extinguish the fire, rescue the crew, and mitigate any environmental impact from the incident. Now, details about how this collision happened are still unclear, but what we do know is that the American oil tanker was anchored before being struck by the Portuguese cargo ship. We also know that this was just one of 10 oil tankers enlisted in a US government program, which is designed to supply armed forces with fuel during times of armed conflict or national emergency. Now, we don't know yet if there are any casualties, but of course, I'll keep you guys updated.
The following home security footage was posted by a woman with the handle name of Chicken City Chickens. This was actually from her neighbors. Around the night of February 25th, 2025 in North Carolina, their home security system picks up something truly odd. A weird sound, a flash, and then something flying over. But the question everybody's asking, What was it? Because it doesn't sound like a typical airplane or helicopter, anything we would typically hear in our skies. This almost sounds alien. Take a look at the footage. Tell me what you think. Comment below.
Yeah, that is really hard to tell what that could be. It was a fairly distorted sound, so it's hard to tell. It could have just been thunder and lightning, or it could have just been a vehicle turning a corner and maybe you just heard it rolling through and the light shining on something. Those are my only guesses. Let me know what you think it is in the comments. I mean, really, that could just be an animal. I don't see any entities or any ghost orbs. It just sounds like something really squeaky or whiny just going off in the background. It could be a number of things. I don't know if it's necessarily paranormal.
Have you ever heard of the Rebbe?
No.
So this man started this sect of Orthodox Judaism. So this man was the rabbi of it. He became a mentor and friend of Netanyahu, Israel's U.S. ambassador. The Rebbe was speaking to Netanyahu. This was in the 80s. And he said, this is quote, "Since we last met, many things have progressed. What hasn't changed, however, is that the Messiah still hasn't come. So do something to hasten his coming." A couple years later, when they met up, he told Netanyahu that he would one day become prime minister of Israel and be the nation's last leader before handing the scepter to the Messiah. 2009, became prime minister and was elected out in 2021. But then a few months later, he was reinstated. And this time he fully aligned himself with the ultra-Orthodox and the Zionists. A lot of them are very anti-Palestinian residing within Israel. If we're talking about the temple being rebuilt, Muslims having claim of the Dome of the Rock on the Temple Mount, the Zionist party wants that out of there. Netanyahu has definitely aligned himself with the Zionist party.
Yeah, and if it gets touched, war.
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
The following footage is from a woman named Rami out of Argentina. On or around March 9th, 2025, she was recording a storm that was passing through Argentina when she captured something in the clouds, but she has no idea what it is. If you look closely as it flashes blue, you see something. Take a look at this and tell me what you see.
I don't see anything.
Exactly how much do people have to see to get it through their heads that the world is not normal right now? We'll come right back to Long Island, New York. Actually, we'll just come right back to the fires in 1 second. So if you did not know, the last 2 months there was a massive sea lion avalanche happening. Well, now, as of this month, there's a sea lion, a massive sea lion die-off happening. They are saying that the water is absolutely just too toxic for them to survive at this point. And of course, all the doomsday fish, the once-in-a-lifetime doomsday fish I've been showing y'all every month on here. But not just that, all the hotspots and all the volcano activity we're seeing under the water right now. I hope you didn't forget about the mountains in North Carolina and other parts that was, yes, just on fire after they're completely demolished by a hurricane. And we had the ridiculous fires in Myrtle Beach, and we do not get fires in North or South Carolina, like, ever. And all of a sudden, 2 massive ones in 1 month. Do you remember Palisades, the Palisade Fire? The Mexico fire that just happened. Fires and hurricanes and other stuff were just absolutely destroying the earth. And who could forget Hawaii? And meanwhile, all this going on, the animals are just dying off, the animals are acting strange. The whole world but the United States is actively flooding. Why do people want to normalize something so badly that's just not normal? And yes, now the Long Island, New York fire is getting worse, and there's multiple fires.
Have you remote viewed Antarctica yet?
Oh, I have. When I was in the Antarctic base and I was going through the hallways, I could feel like the cool dampness of the air. Man, what they're doing in that base was pretty horrific. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that's where the globalists are.
Yep,
trolling the show,
absolutely,
right?
yeah. Essentially what I saw was people basically strapped down to beds in rooms, and what it looked like, they were really all deformed, and it looked like they were doing experimentation to make some sort of like super soldier.
Whoa.
Like that was basically the vibe, but the experimentation was more so genetic experimentation. So they were using like other forms of extraterrestrial genetics to try and create sort of this human hybrid super soldier, and it was disturbing.
I don't know. That's a lot of detailed information for someone to just go out there and talk about it on a podcast. I would be worried for my life at that point.
A lot of these statues you see in the old world, you see so many statues in the old world, and they almost look like a real person. And I started to think about what happens if those statues were real people who were turned to stone. And that is the statue. The technology in which existed at this time that we're talking about, during a time in which they're just throwing up buildings and doing all kinds of crazy things. What if they could just turn somebody into stone and turn them into a statue? And then they just put them out on display to show that they have the ability or that type of technology to do those things. I mean, this is where it gets crazy, because a lot of these statues you see in like Rome and you see in all these different places, they look very real. They look like real people. They're so detailed. And as people just said below, Medusa. Yeah, that's what it makes me think of. Her gaze. Remember, Medusa had a gaze which could turn people to stone. So why couldn't you have a technology which, instead of using art in crafting and a 3D printer and everything else, why couldn't you do it another way? Definitely something to think about.
Soon, we're all going to have to differentiate between what's real and what isn't. The Great Deception is finally among us, and it's been amongst us ever since the drones in quotations appeared in the sky. But soon, we're all going to experience very large-scale events that are meant to deceive us. And they're going to be in the big cities around the world. I don't mean just the United States. I'm talking about around the world. AI has become so advanced from 2001. And see, that's the thing. People don't even realize what happened in 2001, what truly happened in 2001. But it's become so advanced, and that technology has already been released into the world. And the ironic part about it is that there is something else here. There's something that is trying to help us, but it's not being allowed to. The Watchers are very real, and you might think that humanity is so superior, but soon you're going to find out the hard way. That's why I tell people to watch the skies. Watch the hundreds, if not thousands, of bright objects as bright as stars soar across the sky at night, moving in any direction almost at an instant. Watch the military helicopters and the fighter jets follow them, and nobody even bat an eye towards it. I myself, I've had at least 200 experiences just on the Gulf Coast in the past month and a half now. I've recorded at least over 200 videos of them. And even though they're high above our atmosphere, they're not satellites. Don't move in any direction almost at an instant, up, down, left, right. They're not drones. They're not any known military aircraft, especially any that you can track on radar. They are here so they can make themselves known very, very soon. There's a literal war happening in our skies almost every single night that so many of you aren't even aware of. We're not being told what's really going on. And if you truly think that we're all alone in this vast amount of, in quotation, space, then you're choosing to be delusional. You've been deceived for your entire existence. You need to be watching the skies, people, because these big events are about to start taking off.
I've been hearing that things will be happening for a very long time now, so we will see.
I did an entire video on vampires, and I feel like somebody is watching me. and just threatening me energetically to not post it, which is why I hate talking about vampires, especially whenever I bring up the living vampires and the 9 tribes and the fact that there are vampire tribes that live in the United States. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can look up some of the vampires that have been in the paper, like Mercy Brown. The problem with vampires is that they are astral predators. And that is why I don't like putting up pictures of them, because they can spiritually attack people. You don't have to necessarily be psychic. They can give anybody who they feel like threatens them astral parasites. They can come up in your dreams. They are spiritual predators. And what makes it even worse is that all vampires were made by magicians, so they don't play by the same rule book as demons and other entities.
Well, for someone that feels like they're being watched or threatened spiritually, physically, or whatever because they're talking about vampires, they still seem to like to talk about the vampires. And I've never heard of any American vampire tribes, and I have never heard that magicians created vampires. That was a new one to me as well.
The following video is from a woman with the handle name of Mama Shuda. She was doing an art piece when she captures something that she believes to be a part of the Matrix code. She was coloring on the side of a mirror, and that's when she noticed that inside of it, it looks like computer coding. Take a look at this and tell me what you think. Could it be part of the Matrix coding, or is this some sort of reflection within the mirror? Tell me what you think.
Discovered something like kind of freaky. So our eyes are a piece of painting. Man, the part of us like they're kind of edges, you know. Like I've just been going like, you know, feeling them, and then I kind of like first standard here. The novel got to refreed. Like I call it like our glimpse inside of here, and I'm telling you, this Matrix code. I'm not. These are my dear. One of my friends to come over here because
I don't see anything. I see the reflection of her phone. Now, it'd be crazy if there was some Matrix code going on in there, but I don't see anything. Let me know in the comments if you've seen anything.
This is creepy. This comes from an unidentified person who was taking a live photo of a deer in their front yard. And that's when this face popped up behind them. There was nobody else in the house. But whatever it is, looks demonic. Take a look at this. Tell me what you see.
I definitely see a face pop up. That would freak me out if I seen that. I don't know if this is a real video or a fake video, but if I seen that in real life, whoo-wee.
Bandages may soon be able to administer medication by using nanoflowers. Geometrically speaking, flowers are pretty interesting. Flowers, and lots of other things in nature, tend to use this pattern of the Fibonacci sequence because it maximizes surface area, which means more seeds and space to soak up sunlight. This means lots of little places to keep wound healing drugs against things like E. coli or staph infections, so we don't have to go through whatever this childhood rite of passage was. A research team at the University of Genoa used copper phosphate and tannic acid, both of which have anti-inflammatory and antibacterial properties. They assembled them into nanostructures in the shape of flowers and then placed them on small strips of fabric. Not only would they help keep the swelling down, but also administer the necessary medication to prevent infection. This is also in the field of biomimetics, which is the recreation of natural systems. Basically, nature does it best, let's just copy it. Things like flight or Velcro, an idea that came from seeds sticking to the socks of the inventor. So if we need to administer multiple medications on a limited amount of space, what better way than to do it in the shape of nature?
I bet those band-aids are gonna be expensive.
If you see this guy, you're gonna make $10 million, so make sure to memorize him right now. The guy in the photo is Ryan Wedding, who some of you might know. He's actually quite a famous bloke. The guy was an Olympic snowboarder, winning back in 2002 and many other times. Recently, let's just say he switched the snow for a different type of snow. Recently, he's now gotten onto the top 10 FBI's most wanted list, which is quite a big thing. Now, obviously, this guy's done some pretty bad things that I can't talk about, but they really do want him, so we're offering $10 million for someone who has information or can actually lead to his arrest.
Wow.
So make sure you share this video around, repost it, and tag people in the comments. Now, if you look him up on Google, it comes up as Canadian snowboarder, and authorities now believe he leads one of the biggest empires of, you know, that stuff, but not that stuff. Crimes he's been found of is obviously trafficking a large amount of trafficking other things, and a lot of unalive. It seems like he's changed quite a bit since these days. But make sure you make a note, share this video about. That's it.
There are giant feet and what appears to be a giant skull in the mountains in Montana. This is Julie Ryder, and she has a whole YouTube channel and website dedicated to all of her finds that she finds in Montana. And yes, she gatekeeps the locations. To be real, I don't blame her. Do these not look like teeth? How much do Titan feet pigs go for?
A little bit.
Okay, so they have 6 toes. And apparently in the Bible, they talk about giants having 6 fingers and 6 toes. We're gonna get to the skull in a second, but look at the lines in the foot and all these down here. If this isn't the craziest coincidence, I don't even know what to think. I mean, like the line right here and then all the bones down here, like it literally looks like teeth with something shoved in the center. It reminds me of vampire burials. When they dug up the bodies of alleged vampires, they had rocks shoved in between their teeth. Anyway, apparently it has an elongated skull, and crazy enough from the side, there's a crack here and then a crack directly across the top, which Julie points out line up with skull sutures. Now, from looking through her stuff, I believe that it's in this general area in Montana. And if you guys remember the Guardian of the Badlands video, so the Guardian of the Badlands was right about in here in Southeast Alberta. And I think from all the stuff on her website that the things she finds are all in this general area in Montana. Anyway, I just found this all very fascinating, so I had to share it with you guys.
They're called Menehune, this Hawaiian cryptid. There's a story of basically this dude rides a bike through this old stone wall ruins area. Over the wall's edge, he just hears voices. He's like, it's really weird that there would be someone over in this area. And so he stops and he looks over and he describes these like human-ish 2 to 3 foot tall Menehune speaking in some language he doesn't understand. He steps on a twig. They see him and just disappear into the jungle. And then they ask him, can you like describe for us what the voices sound like? It sounds ridiculous. Play the next clip. Tell me this isn't the same creature. You guys remember this?
Yes, Sierra sounds.
Guys,
That sounded they sounds like the same thing. We know so little of what's happening.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about Inner Earth? UFO sightings around caves, a lot of giants going into caves.
That underground highway?
Yeah. It would make sense if there was creatures
real.
living in this other place.
Doesn't it say in the Bible that they come up out of the earth?
Yeah.
I'm so scared right now.
Okay, we gotta talk about this egg UFO they found in Antarctica. The one that was leaked by a supposed government whistleblower on a certain website that shall not be named. This blower claims to have been part of the recovery mission of a very interesting UAP that's allegedly of ancient origin. UFOs and ancient civilizations? Pfft, I'm about to blow a little something myself. Your mind. This egg-shaped UAP, as it's being called, was found deep in a cave in the Queen Elizabeth mountain range in Antarctica, along with a 700-year-old humanoid being in a stasis pod who was still alive, woke up, and talked to us. Reminder, this is just speculation from an anonymous post and is for entertainment purposes only. Did you hear that algorithm? Our whistleblower says he worked for the US Department of Defense in a long Q&A style post with some pretty juicy info, starting the thread off by telling us this video was taken in November of 2022, showing what appears to be a large, smooth, spherical object, not unlike a lot of the Tic Tac UAPs we've been seeing, dangling at the end of a long rope being airlifted by a helicopter. He insists it's an egg-shaped UAP of ancient origin, made from an unknown metal that no one was able to open. Now, let me just preface everything I'm about to reveal by saying the site this leak was posted on isn't exactly known for being a reliable source of valid information. But on the other hand, hand, is known for being notoriously anonymous, which admittedly would be ideal for whistleblowers who wish to stay hidden. Either way, take this all with a grain of salt, because what is interesting is that the video shown here is extremely similar to another one released by News Nation, a legitimate American cable news and video network just days earlier. And once again, their video shows an egg-shaped UAP in the same night vision filter dangling at the end of a long rope hanging from a helicopter, which they confirm was leaked to them by another whistleblower that they themselves validated. Two separate videos just a few days apart, both with the same looking egg UFO. Is there something to this, or is it all just a coordinated distraction? Along with the video, News Nation also interviewed Jake Barber, a decorated US Air Force veteran who was contracted by the DoD as a helicopter pilot for crash retrieval, and he reveals that some of his retrievals were definitely not of human origin. He admits that he was sent on helicopter retrievals of unknown objects that he would extract and transport with a long rope, missions that took place at night, and mentions on one particular extraction as he looked down at the object he was carrying through his night vision lens, he saw, and I quote, an egg. A white egg with no visible propulsion system, which is exactly what we see in both of the videos, confirmed by the one manning the helicopter. And bro looks shell-shocked revealing these claims, saying he felt possessed by some ethereal energy during this job, and that shortly after, he and his colleagues got really sick, lost all of his hair, and his skin started to peel. Even developed heart problems he's never had before, so Stanford immunologist Gary Nolan took a look at his health diagnostics, insisting he's never seen anything like what Barber and his team experienced, even suggesting the sickness may not be of earthly origin. Jake's claims are also backed up by testimonies from many other of his fellow veterans, like Don Paul, another decorated Special Forces operator who worked with Jake Barber and confirms everything he's saying. Now, along with the egg UAP, the original whistleblower thread reveals that a coffin-like stasis pod was also recovered from the cave in Antarctica, which he says he has pics of, and well, he delivered. According to him, this pod they found had a humanoid being inside that was kept alive without the use of cryogenics. They brought it up to a lab, and very quickly the being awoke from its stasis sleep pod and started interacting with the humans. It was very tall, around 8 feet, with blue eyes, pale skin, white long hair, and a very human-like face, while at the same time looking very non-human. This, in ufology, would be what we call the Nordic aliens, or the tall whites. It proved to be very intelligent, learning English and German in less than a week, and was able to speak directly to the scientists, and can also communicate with select humans telepathically, which you would hear as your voice in your own head, like giving yourself a monologue. The being explained to the team that he was born here 700 years ago, and that his people saved humans from a creator race who engineered us to serve them millions of years ago, which is pretty much exactly what the ancient Sumerian Anunnaki myth is about, which the alien said humanity passed that story down from that very real event. The whistleblower says they even took photos of its thing, which, in case you're wondering, looks like ours, but the tip is more similar to a chimpanzee. His words, please don't look that up. He did also mention that our government has a sort of internal division on what they want to do with this sort of information. That everyone involved falls into one of two groups, those that want disclosure, revealing aliens and UFOs to the public, and those that don't. And that all the UAP Congress hearings, the News Nation video, the Jake Barber leaks we've been shown are all just distractions by the people who want to keep it hidden. Then he shows us additional photos of the egg, the stasis pod, the Antarctic cave they found everything in, which he claims is from the other group. The cave was part of a larger underground alien base that had been there for thousands of years but has since been abandoned. All they found there was the egg, the sleeping pod, and another metallic box filled with books written in Sumerian and Proto-European. One of the photos even feature what he calls unexplained writing, possibly hieroglyphics, on the walls. These caves were supposedly found in the Queen Elizabeth mountain range in Antarctica, which, oddly enough, this area specifically is extremely pixelated on Google Earth when you zoom in. Meanwhile, other areas right beside it are full of detail. Is there any reason this region was kept off the radar? Our totally reliable and whistleblower finishes off with a very concerning message, claiming that something called the Dwight D. Eisenhower Alliance is very real, where former President Eisenhower met with some of these aliens way back in the 50s and traded American civilians in exchange for their technology, which they studied and developed in classified government projects. But by this time, the thread started going off the rails, with the OP claiming it was hijacked by government disinformation agents pretending to be him, posting another close-up shot of the infamous egg UAP that even shows some sort of markings and writing all over it, but it could very well be AI at this point. Which it kinda sucks that AI has sort of infiltrated our sphere of tangible evidence. And today, even real UFO and alien photos and videos could easily be dismissed as AI and mocked. Pics or it didn't happen is officially irrelevant. We do know, at least with a higher degree of certainty, that the News Nation video could very well be real, and this egg UAP is currently in the government's possession. Unless this really is just a massive distraction to cover up what's really happening, which honestly would be even more terrifying. But if it is real, I have a feeling that whatever it is will be revealed to us sooner than later.
I don't know. I really think that those egg UFOs are really fake. I just cannot believe that they allowed those to be a public thing. And I do feel like it is a distraction for something that we don't even have a single clue as to what it could be. Not even a little bit. Everything that we think that it is, it's not. It's something way beyond that. That's kind of the theory that I have. It just seems to be one big entertainment trap. It's just here to keep us engaged and keep us distracted for something else going on. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. What could there be out there that's not within the realm of what we always watch or hear about, that it really could be that they're trying to keep us distracted from? I would love to read some really good theories on that one in the comments, so let me know, please. Alright guys, I'm gonna go ahead and end today's video. As always, I want to stop and thank each and every one of you for watching these clips with me today, and with that being said, have a good day.